Welcome everybody to One Deck, One Month, featuring Rikka, Sun Avalon, Rikka, whatever you want to call it. Here we are in episode 1, week 1. Now, much like the last series that we just did, where I was playing Marincess for Act 2, the second time around I decided to take that deck upon this little challenge and take you guys along sort of the deck building journey. We already had quite a bit of experience with the deck leading into that series of One Deck, One Month. Sort of the same thing is going to apply here. I've already been playing Rikka Sun Avalon probably for about a month or so already. And honestly, it's a very, very good thing that I've been doing that. Not only to kind of pad the stats a little bit for the series, which is obviously not the intention, but this is a very complex deck to learn. There are two prominent engines in the deck, and they both can interact with each other very, very well, and there's so many interactions. And I think 4 weeks to learn everything and try to get to that level of mastery, I don't think it would have cut it right off the rip. I'm like literally having flashbacks to when I was trying to learn this deck and play it against one of my friends on DB. Super late at night, a little too late probably, and I just could not put it together. But after a few more weeks, I was finally getting the hang of it, took the deck to YCS Niagara. Terrible experience we had there. If you guys saw the stream where I did the tournament report, you probably know how bad that went. I think it was a combination of bad luck and, nerves and just being underprepared, I guess. It would be a combination of those things. I think the deck was more than capable to do great things at that event, but, there were other forces at play. But here we are in week 1 with Rikka Sun Avalon, a plant-based Link/Xyz deck that just recently got some new support in Power of the Elements. The archetype originally came out in Secret Slayers a long time ago, and in fact is the only Secret Slayers archetype to ever have won a premier event out of Adamantipator's and Eldritch. Think about that. What was deemed the worst archetype at the time, and don't get me wrong, it was, has been the only deck ever to have won a premier event. Now, Adamantipator kind of got the short end of the stick when it came to that because of, when it was released, the climate of the world and everything, really didn't have a chance to really test out its competitive legs, but that's a story for a different video. But like I said, this deck has recently gotten a lot of support in Power of the Elements, got a brand new field spell, which is basically like a Layer of Darkness for plants, and it also is a Layer of Darkness, you might think it's like in a control deck, but no, this is a Layer of Darkness for a very combo heavy deck, although it can definitely play the control game when it needs to, and I like decks that can do that. I like decks that can combo off when they need to and can play the mid-range grind game when they need to as well, and Rikka is definitely one of those decks can do that. It also has a searchable extender/monster negate, and not to mention the rest of the archetype is just really solid as well. Cards like Petal are absolutely insane for follow-up and grind game. And that's pretty much all I need to say. If you guys have been following the channel up to this point, at least the past couple of months or so, you guys have seen the things that I've been doing with the deck. Won a VIP qualifier with it, won several locals with it, and I think we can sort of continue that trend here in this series of One Deck, One Month, and I'm looking forward to bringing you guys along for the journey like usual. Now, it is week 1, like I've already said. It is also currently Friday, and it is 7:22. And our Tuesday locals this week was a little unfortunate. In fact, it was the first locals in probably about 3 to 4, maybe plus weeks where I actually didn't end up topping, and we had some really unfortunate things happen. And like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we do have locals tomorrow. I do have a list that is slightly different than the one that I'm playing the past couple weeks, and by slightly different I mean maybe like literally a 1 to 2 card difference. We do have the ban list to sort of take into account, which the only thing I have to change is cut a red reboot, and I already have a good idea what I'm going to be changing that out for, and we'll also talk about that a little bit later as well. But I am going to be heading over to my friend's house for some testing. It's going to be about a 40-minute drive, so hopefully we should arrive around 8 o'clock or so. I'm going to be testing against my friend's Exosister deck. It's a matchup I really haven't played too much against, but I've heard through the grapevine that it's a pretty easy matchup. Let's just hope he doesn't open up Martha Shifter every single game. So with that being said, that is our little intro for episode 1 of One Deck, One Month. And yeah, it's going to be a great series. Really looking forward to it. And I can't wait to see how many dubs we can rake in this month with this deck. Oh, almost forgot one thing. Well, two things, technically. Perfect. All ready to go now. Welcome to Saturday, everybody. It is just about 3:30 right now, and there are a few things I want to update you guys on. The first being, how did our Tuesday locals go? What went wrong? The second is, how did our testing go last night? Did I learn anything, etc., etc.? And the third thing is, what kind of changes, if any, am I going to make to the deck list before we play in tonight's big tournament? So the first thing is, Tuesday, how did it go? Tuesday ended up actually being one of the worst performances I've had with this deck in a long time, like probably 4+ weeks. I've managed to consistently top locals or even go undefeated at locals with this deck the past 4 weeks or so. And I think Tuesday, we just had some bad luck. Some very, very unfortunate things took place to allow us to have that poor of a finish. The first being Game 3 against a Sprite matchup. My opponent had a Called by the Grave for a DD Crow, and I actually ended up having 2 DD Crow in my hand, so not only did he stop the first one, he completely cut me off from being able to stop his Toad from coming back with the Elf the next turn, and that was really, really bad for me, especially with having a very weak hand. I got very lucky that my opponent didn't negate something early on, or else we would have had no plays. Somehow I managed to be able to climb into a Dance Peon after burning through all of his interruptions through Normal Summon Lone Fire. And we were able to get pretty far into the combo, except our Dance Peon completely whiffed, and it was just game over from there. And then the other unfortunate match that we had, we played against Cyber Dragon, very dedicated Cyber Dragon player at our local. Shout out to Andy. But Game 2, I got absolutely annihilated. Literally nothing I can do. I think my opening hand was Glamour, D-Barrier, Judgment, Imperm, Cosmic, right? Weak hand, I know. Especially to spell trap removal, which we'll get to in a moment. I go Glamour, get Petal, normal Petal, Imperm, Link Dry, set 4, pass. Now, maybe I could have been a little bit more conservative by not setting everything, because my opponent goes Duster, I'm forced to Judgment. He goes Lightning Storm, Call Spell and Trap. I am forced to Chain, D-Barrier, Call Xyz, and the rest of my back row go. And from there, he passes. He doesn't have any plays. I think I drew for turn. I think it was a Twin. Yeah, it was Twin. Wait, no, I didn't start with Glamour. Okay, it's coming back to me now. I didn't start with Glamour. I started with Loci into Dryas. He impermed the Dryas, cutting me off from the sowing. And then that was my play right there. But I drew Twin for turn, which normally drawing Twin in this deck, as many of you know, is terrible. The only, I want to say, true brick in the deck. But at this point, with Dryas already on field, my opponent didn't have any place to contact Fusion away with. I had the Seed Engrave. Everything was lining up. I go normal Twin, target the Seed to bring back, and he DD Crows it. All right, fair enough. We go to Dance Peon. Dance Peon whiffs again. Nothing we can do there. And we just basically get blown out next turn. So those are how our losses were on Tuesday. Very unfortunate things took place. That one of Called by the Grave, which honestly should have been banned alongside Reboot, but here we are. And then just double blowout card and double hand trap against the Cyber Dragon deck really put us in a bad spot. So not much we can do there. So that was Tuesday. The testing last night. So as many of you guys may or may not know, I play 1 Jasmine and 3 Strenna. I know it is pretty popular for people to do 2-2. I really like 3 Strenna because I'm playing Carrot Weight in my deck, and that is kind of a constantly reoccurring level 4 monster. And with Snow Princess being able to recycle itself all the time, you have access to make easy rank 4s. And my philosophy with the deck is that in the grind game, and I really value this deck's grind game, and I often find myself getting into grind games quite a bit with this deck, having the 3rd Strenna makes a lot more sense than having the 2nd Jasmine. I'll talk about why having the 2nd Jasmine is good in a second. But most of the time, a lot of your resources, especially since we play some powerful one-ups like Snowdrop, etc., and we play limited copies of like Sheet and Con, a lot of your good resources are going to be stuck in the grave later in the game, and Jasmine cannot retrieve those, but Strenna can, and that's why I value the 3rd Strenna. Most of the time in my combo, going first especially, I go through 2 Strenna, and sometimes if the board gets cracked, or if my opponent like hand trapped me right, or if they have some sort of form of blowout card, whatever it may be, right, sometimes not having the third Strenna on the crackback really hurts. And having a second Jasmine trying to play into the grind game really doesn't help a lot, especially since, like I said, a lot of your resources are already out of the deck and in the grave, and there are very limited things that the Jasmine can even get out of the deck. But it does come in clutch sometimes, being an 1800 body that can't be destroyed by battle alongside the things that it points to, especially with Sowing Engrave, makes it an absolute unit sometimes. But that can be wishful thinking. Although, there did come a moment where I was playing against my friend's Exosister deck. I got hand-trapped quite a bit. He did interrupt me with his Exosister traps, Vadis or Returnia, whatever, banished a couple cards. I was able to keep playing, and he had already banished my Jasmine, and I had the opportunity to make a second one, but I didn't have it in the extra deck. And that is one chance where the second Jasmine would have technically came up. Now, it sort of came up against my other friend, when he was playing a Magical Musket Runic deck, but I was actually able to mid-combo recycle the Jasmine with Strenna, make the Jasmine again, and tribute off the Strenna to keep playing since he impermed it on the effect to search when we gain life points. So having Strenna mid-combo to recycle that, I ended up making like a Dance Peon or something, or no, I linked it away for something else. I can't remember for what exactly, but I know I was able to make a Strenna to put it back. Might have been a Dance Peon, actually, because that's, I think, how I made the 2 level 4 bodies. So that was a really cool line. I've never done something like that before, but that is a little bit more resource intensive, and the second Jasmine really excels at helping to play through interruptions. So I really don't know what I value more right now. I've been on Team 3 Strenna for quite a while, but that one instance last night maybe kind of pushing me in the other direction to go back to playing 2. It is a little bit of bias, though. And honestly, the second Jasmine has not come up for a very long time. But like I said, if I were to put it back in the deck, I would definitely cut the Strenna down to 2. Although I feel like today, cutting it down to 2 might be bad since I'm very used to playing 3 Strenna. And that might be a bit of a difficult thing. I feel like there might be times where I go to make the third Strenna and it's not there all of a sudden. I don't know. I might have to just be a little bit more careful with how I manage my resources and maybe try to use Strenna more to recycle the Jasmine. Etc., etc., or just work on lines if the Jasmine gets impermed, etc. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I do make the bold move to switch. I don't know. And that brings us to the next segment. What, if anything, am I going to change with the list? And speaking of the list, here it is. Right now, it is 42 cards. There are 2 Sowing in here. This is actually one of the other things I was testing out. Playing the second Sowing over a 1-for-1. And I really do like Sowing in here quite a bit. Like seeing it not only just added off of your Dryas, but seeing it with like any level 4 or lower plant, or seeing Petal Sowing is such a powerful opening, and I didn't want to pass that up. Like seeing that more often is great, and having the second Sowing in Graveyard to protect stuff is also really good as well. The Hand Trap lineup, that's another thing. The Hand Trap lineup I feel like is something maybe I could change going forward, but it really depends on how the meta shapes up. It really depends on what kind of tier builds are going to be popular, and what kind of sprite builds are going to be popular before I make a well-informed decision on what cards to change. Dark Ruler, Imperm, and Rivalry are not going anywhere. Rivalry is such a great card right now in this format, especially to help combat the tier limit matchup. Dark Ruler is insane. I feel like we definitely still need this card going into sprite boards, as they are still putting up quite a bit of interruptions, even if it isn't, you know, double toed anymore. If they're playing other variants of like Live Twin or Tri-Brigade versions, right? We want Dark Ruler strapped, right? That card is just so great in this deck, and it does come in clutch more often than not, so I want to leave it. Side deck, I'm going to leave as well. I also am siding the Titanial, the Princess of Camellias, which I actually do have a little combo showcasing how to get that out of the deck, and the reason behind that is to help in the Runic matchup, because it basically stops any card or effect that would target and negates the activation and destroys. It's not once per chain, not once per turn. Insane card. And the combo that you make, you're able to negate like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 6 times. You can stop 6 spells. It's like really bonkers in that matchup, and it's like a really good ace card to be able to get off of Jasmine, off of Snowdrop, or off of Lone Fire. You just spec it on the deck for free. So I'm going to keep trying that today as opposed to playing the One of Red reboot. So that's everything. That's all I wanted to update you guys on. If I make any changes to the deck list, you'll see it in this list here. But yeah, I'll see you guys at Locals in just a bit. All right, everybody, welcome to just after round 3. Our current record is 2-1. Our only loss was to the tier combo deck. We ended up getting eradicated games 1 and 3, which is really unfortunate and makes me just so incredibly mad that they have not banned Curious. So this type of play is still something that you can do, and it's very consistent. Even without Propega Ruler, he did a cool line with the Punk Synchro, searching Psychic Tracker into a Zombie Synchro, and then made Baron anyways. It was a really cool line. I gotta give him props for coming up with that kind of combo, or wherever it came from. Really, really cool creative line. And both games 1 and 3, he was able to get to the Eradicator. I only had a Bell game 3, and I missided. Imperms were not in my side deck game 3. They definitely should have been. I don't know what else I should have taken out. At least I was smart enough to keep Dark Ruler out of my main deck, because that would have just been like a slap in the face having that in the main and having it get ripped out of my hand by the Eradicator. So we'll probably go ahead and go over round 2 or round 3. So I won't spoil the details of that one, because that was actually a pretty grindy game against my friend Partho. He plays tier as well, and he plays a little bit of a different variant. It's more control based with a lot of trap cards. So we'll go over that one in detail. So yeah, that's all I pretty much wanted to update you guys on round 1. We played against, what did I play against round 1? Round 1 we actually played against Exo Sister, and despite him seeing D-Shifter games 1 and 3, we were able to take the match still. So really love to see that. Rivalry and Nibiru came in super clutch game 3, so glad those are on the side. Rivalry's just rivalries, pretty insane. So I'll update you guys after the tournament, and hopefully we can win one more to be able to go 3-1. All right, everybody, welcome to round 3. Here we are playing against my friend Partho on his Shaddoll Trap Tearlament deck. I wanted to showcase this match in particular because it does go to a game 3, which is always nice. More interaction to see, more things to learn. And it's a pretty grindy match, I would say. Game 3 is really, really interesting. Some cool things that come up there that I want to go over. And his deck list in particular, I think, is like a little bit different than what's normally played in tier. And if I can try to keep it as unique and fresh as I possibly can, I'll try to do that, because I know there's going to be a lot of tier this format moving forward. Post Darkwing Blast and Magnificent Mavens, like the deck is just going to be everywhere. So I will try to bring some variety in what decks we cover and what decks we go over, what matchups we review, because it's just it probably is just gonna be a lot of tier, but I'll try to cover different things where I can. Still gonna go over the tier matchup, mainly because it's very meta relevant, and you know, for the sake of the series, we are trying to be competitive. We are trying to win as many matches as we can. So we do have to cover the meta matchups, and we have to learn them and learn them well to be able to have a better opportunity going against them in the future. And I think, I'm not sure, this series might go into Darkwing Blast official release, where tier is getting more support. They're getting a new fusion, and there's also a new sprite link, Sprined, and that is going to shake things up quite a bit. So we need to be as prepared as we possibly can. And yeah, with all that being said, let's hop right in here. You're going to notice too, we typically do the top down angle for One Deck 1 Month. I was not able to film in that specific area, mainly because there was another content creator there that night who was also filming feature matches, which is really cool. I believe his name is Your Move Live on YouTube, so if you guys want to check him out, definitely go ahead and do so. But next week, hopefully, I will be able to have that spot back when we work some things out. That way, I can keep this, first-person perspective angle its own thing in the Saturday Night Locals videos, and then we can go back to the traditional angle for review. So we're gonna have to kind of deal with this for this week. But hopefully going forward, we can get everything squared away where everybody's happy with what they have. And yeah, so also, if you guys want to see this match completely in its entirety without any commentary over it, without it being paused and stuff, all of my matches have actually been uploaded as a part of the Saturday Night Local series in this style here. So we are going to see my friend Partho here go first, and he will win die roll. He's going to lead with Rhino Heart. I do have Ash and Imperm in my hand. I did not want to hit the Rhino Heart with any of the hand traps I had. I know he's more so on a pure tier deck, so I wanted to, let him get a little bit further and let him, commit to a Kit Kalos, which he goes for here. And I think it's pretty standard practice to always try to imperm Kit Kalos when you can, because ashing it would have been kind of bad because that would have allowed him to use the other effective Kit Kalos. And I think after this, when he showed me that his hand was mostly normal summons, you could see he had that the Supreme Sea Mare in his hand that he put back to Fusion for. So imperm actually on the Kit Kalos ends up winding up to be a really good call. And I think, if you don't already know that, you should. Dark Ruler's really not going to do a whole lot here in this particular matchup, but it's fine. Could definitely have turned off a Winda if we ran into one, and he definitely likes to play Winda in this build. So we will resolve the unexpected die. That is going to go into the Loki. Well, Loki is going to get linked into the Dryas. And right now, I also know, too, this particular player doesn't really play a lot of hand traps. So, that's just a good thing in general to know. Normally, you won't know that, right? You're not going to know if your opponent's on hand traps or not all the time. With the way I opened, my hand was actually unplayable, I think, until I drew the unexpected die for turn. So we got lucky in that regard, but there is really no way to beat something like a Nibiru right now with this particular hand. We just kind of have to try to play through their hand traps where we can, and hope that his Havness, if he does have one, doesn't resolve. And we've already passed the Havness check at this point, so we're pretty much just free to play here. And I'm playing at the combo as normally as I can. I do use the Jasmine to go ahead and get access to Princess, and then we summon out Petal. Petal adds the Snowdrop, and we're pretty much just in our standard line of play right now. So we're going to go Snowdrop, bring itself out, and Mudan. Mudan's going to go ahead and grab a copy of Con. And right now I'm just trying to go for an OTK because I want to end this game as quickly as possible. I do not want to give him another turn. More chances to mill cards. Shrine to detach, add back Mudan. Mudan effect to summon. Shrine effect to summon, go into Hyperiton. Activate Con. Chain Hyperiton, attach a spell to it. And from here, we're going to go ahead and activate Con to go ahead and set Glamour. Not going to go ahead and set Sheet here solely because, we're going for game, so we're not going to need Sheet. And I do use the Glamour to, I think, tribute, his Kit Kalos. It does get tributed for cost, so no, he cannot trigger the effect of Kit Kalos to mill 5. It is not being sent by a card effect. It's being sent as a cost for Glamour. So we're going to go ahead and get to search 2 plants here, and this is why I like playing Carrot Weight so much. Carrot Weight is going to help us enable game here, especially since we have not normal summoned yet in this particular combo. We're going to make the second Strenna, link into Melius, bring back the Seed, link it off, go for Bengal Answer. And now normally this isn't game, but normal summoning the Carrot Weight is going to make it so it is game. We can just Bengal Answer, bounce the Rhino Heart, and swing in with everything there. That's 26, 25, 2019. If we didn't have the Carrot Weight, it wouldn't have been game. I guess you could maybe argue Primula maybe could have gotten the job done there too, because that would have been 51, 71. No, Primula would have been 7,900 damage, so Carrot Weight coming in very clutch there to be able to go for a game. But yeah, he shows me his hand there. All normal summons. He had a Merly, another Rhino Heart, and a Shaddoll Beast in hand. So yeah, if I would have ashed that Kit Kalos, he could have used the other effect to potentially bring out Merly. And there I would have to use another hand trap. I'd have to imperm there. So always imperm Kit Kalos. It just kind of reminds me of Alistair or Alibur. These were cards that we were just trained to always hand trap. And it also helps to know what kind of variant of tier you're playing against. If you're playing against combo tier, I don't think hitting Kit Kalos is typically correct. I think saving it for something more impactful like the Curious play. I think if you can imperm Curious, it's the best. Card's insane. Or if you can imperm Griffin, on your turn. But sometimes that's tough because they have Elf and Baron, and then you're out of luck. But yeah, that's another story. So that is game 1. Relatively standard line there. just to go for a game off of Unexpected Die. It's crazy how much stuff Unexpected Die gets you, and then we just go for the carrot weight to get that extra body on field and push for damage, and it does work out for us there. So standard, just open board OTK, and we're going to go ahead and go into game 2 here. And I do apologize if the sped up first person's perspective is a little bit difficult to watch. Again, we should only be doing this for this week. Next week for sure, we should be back to normal. So game 2 here, my opponent is of course going to opt to go first, leading with Planet into Shiren, and Shiren discarding Havness, and he hits Supreme Seamare, Merly, and Havness, so he hits 2 names off of this. And I believe he does end up using both of them to go ahead and fusion summon. So I'm expecting something probably like Garura. Also expecting obviously a Kit Kalos. And he's going to go ahead and put back 2 to go for Garura. And put back the other 2 now to go for the Kit Kalos with the Supreme Seamare. And he's going to go Chainlink 1 Kit, Chainlink 2 Pearl Rhino to go ahead and pop his Garura. So we can go ahead and get a draw there on a new chain. So he's going to go ahead and search, and hopefully we'll get a look at my hand here in just a minute. Yep, let's go ahead and add 1, and then Guru effect to go ahead and search, and then Kit effect to go ahead and bring out a copy of Rhino Heart, and he's going to go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2 Kit, and Chainlink 1 Rhino Heart, which I thought it was weird that he chained it that way. I think that's like really easy to get punished by Ash there. But maybe he was confident I didn't have Ash because I didn't hit the Merly or the Shiren. So maybe that's something as well. But chain blocking it that way, I mean, at the same time, I get it. Because Imperm, like, there's no sense in playing around Imperm, right? Like, because, like, you're going to get, like, if they have Imperm, they're going to use it on the Kit. Or they're just going to go directly after the Rhino Heart. So I guess like doing it the way he did made the most sense, only because Kit is random. Like Kit could not hit anything, and if they ash it, whatever. But Rhino Heart is a direct send, where if you chain block it that way, they cannot interrupt the direct send unless they have Imperm, which again we already talked about. They would have already used Imperm on the Kit anyway, so none of it would have mattered. So I get why he did it this way. It might seem a little obscure on the surface, and it definitely did to me at first, but thinking about it afterwards is like, okay, yeah, he's really trying to play around Ash on that direct send. And then he's going to go ahead and look at 5 here. I see Merly, double Meta Noise, and Skomata, and that card in the middle there, I can't necessarily tell what it is. And then the Rhino Heart is going to go ahead and send Shiren. And it was Rhino Heart too, so he's going to go Chainlink 1 Shiren, Chainlink 2 Skomata, Chainlink 3 Meta Noise, Chainlink 4 Rhino Heart to summon itself back, which is insane. Or no, I don't think he's using Rhino Heart Grave Effect. He's just using Meta Noise to target it and add it back. Dump the Beast off the Skomata, resolve the Fusion, going for Winda, and then Beast Effect to go ahead and draw. So setting up like his standard board, I would say, with his version of the deck, which is like Winda and a rank 4, and then like a lot of trap cards. And we draw Carrot Wait for turn. Not the card you really want to see right here, but it is what it is. One thing I think I have to start getting used to is going second is like siding out that second level 4 Glamour target, especially in matchups where you need to squeeze in a lot of side deck cards. That might be kind of like a good note to save in the head for later. My opponent is going to stand by face, take an Unexpected Die, which feels really bad. He's going to go ahead and immediately use that effect afterwards to go ahead and banish itself and draw a card. He's going to trigger the Affecting Grave of Shiren to go ahead and fusion. And I believe he goes for a Kit Kalos here, which I was expecting a Dragos Sepelia, but he just goes for another Kit to add a Shiren just for follow-up here. And we know 2 cards in hand. So I have Con, I have Glamour, and this is great because I can immediately go after the Winda. And this is one of the things I love about Con, is it's low-key a board-breaking going second card, especially if you pair it with Mudons, Snowdrops, and Glamours. It's just free half the time to be able to clear something that they have, and it's so easy to outwinda in this deck. It's just really, really nice. And we also drew a Primula too, so I have two 1-ofs in my opening hand, which is really unfortunate. Unexpected Die is also great, and we also have Rivalry. And here I decided to go ahead and add Petal and Loci, and I'm not really sure why. I think I know why I wanted to go for the Petal. Yeah, okay. I think my mindset was like going for a normal summon. Like I wanted something that would bait out like a Havness either, right? To like go for a Kaleido Heart to spin back the Petal. Or it would be for something like Dynamiscus, which would also get rid of the normal summon, allowing me to use the unexpected die in my hand. I don't really know why I started like that. Oh, wait, no. It all makes sense now. I couldn't even resolve Glamour to search level 4s because both of my other level 4 targets were in my hand. That is why. Okay. It makes sense because I'm like, wouldn't it have been much more like impactful to go ahead and get Snow Princess there to have access to a monster negate? I think looking back, that was... Yeah. But it makes sense now. I couldn't resolve Glamour to search level 4, so I had to make an alternative route. And then he does discard the Havness, right, as part of effect for Dynamiscus, and there is the second window. So now I'm really kind of in a tough spot. Really, really in a tough spot. Yeah, and he ends up banishing, like, the Petal on summon, so we couldn't even use Con-Con to set. We didn't have time to. So I just go ahead and set the die and set the Rivalry and pass. Standby phase, he's going to go ahead and bring back the Redoer. Well, end phase is going to come back, and then he's going to go ahead and activate Crime on the Rivalry, which is basically just a negate, counter trap negate, and he basically takes game 2 there very, very quickly. I think my opening hand was just super unfortunate, and at the end of the day, who knows, maybe that was like a fault of a side decking error. Maybe there were more things I could have taken out of my deck, which I didn't really think that I could at the time, for better things that were in my side deck. Now, Rivalry is one of those cards, and I'll talk about this briefly, kind of go on a tangent. Rivalry is one of those cards that I love in this deck, but keeping it in going second sometimes just feels really, really bad. Especially if it's like the only card you're seeing. Like, I would just almost rather it be a hand trap or a high impact board breaker, like Evenly, or even Dark Ruler, because Dark Ruler right there would have been great actually, just to even turn off the second window and hold the Glamour for the second one, right? Or vice versa. But yeah, that could have maybe been a minor error, something that isn't super like, it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb right away, but if you kind of think about it deeper, like, oh, maybe my siding patterns are a bit off, and maybe that's why I didn't draw enough of the cards I needed to see. So yeah, that's something I want to bring up. Also, siding patterns. Some things I know people ask are like, what engine cards do I typically side out, if any? It really depends, but most of the time I will side out the third princess. Sometimes I'll side out the second sewing or a 1-for-1 if I'm playing that. And sometimes I'll side out maybe a Petal. It really depends because I just don't want to draw a lot of normal summons, but I might look into like maybe siding out a Carrot Weight going forward as well. Just to keep the bare minimum of like one other level 4 outside of Princess to be able to resolve Glamour. But yeah, those are like typically some of the engine cards I side out. I really don't side out anything outside of that. I think the things that should be sided out are your non-engine like defensive cards, for various other non-engine defensive cards. I think that is like the best way to do it, because if you're taking out engine cards going second, they have to be very, very like bricky engine cards that you'd rather just not see, that are not 100% necessary either. Because you don't want to be like taking out engine cards and making your deck less consistent going into games 2 and 3. All right, so tangent over. So here in game 3, my opening hand is Con-Con, Petal, Bell, Loci, and Lone Fire. So this is an extremely normal summon heavy hand. And I wanted to, like, already at this hand, like, going with the seed line is very, very susceptible to hand traps. Leaves us very little room to work with. As much as going for the seed line would be very free, again, I wanted to play it safe. Oh, wait, I don't have Con-Con, I have Sewing. So yeah, that changes the logic on this then. So with this hand, I'm definitely going Petal Sewing. And this is why I love multiple Sewing in the deck. I know Marcus Patel also played multiple Sewing, and after hearing his reasonings behind it, it makes a lot more sense. Like, Petal Sewing is like a really, really strong opening that can help beat hand traps. And I have that opening here. So normal summoning the Lone Fire, normal summoning the Loci is definitely not in my line of priority right now. Normal summoning Petal is just going to be way better. And he does have Havness right away. Havness, that just sounds weird. And he whiffs. The only thing he hits is a Beast, which he will go ahead and get that draw there. And we're going to go ahead and get to summon out we'll add a Princess from our deck to our hand. then we're going to go ahead and special summon the princess, and we're going to link that off into Dryas, and this is going to give us a good way to trigger Dryas with the sewing. And we're going to be able to summon out a, I think I go for twin here. I can't remember if I go for twin here or not, because I was like, do I want twin in my deck later for like seed combos if we get to that point? There's also an interesting interaction too that you guys will actually see in this game. And right here, you're going to see me go for the healer next after we summon the twin. I decided to go for the healer because I knew I wasn't going to be able to do the life point gain while Jasmine was on field, and I'd rather save the Thrasher for later on, specifically with this line. And again, like for reasons you'll see later, same thing with me summoning twin, like I said, because like we don't have Loki on board, so we can't make healer any other way. So we're just going to take the free life point gain. And also important thing to note here, if we were going second and this was their field right now, if we summoned Loki here, we could go for the classic OTK, which is really, really cool. But you're going to see me link off the healer and the Dryas into Jasmine. Jasmine's going to go ahead and tribute off the twin. And we're going to go ahead and actually summon out Mudon here. Mudon is going to go ahead and secure us Con. And Con is going to do what it does best. Go ahead and get us a Rikka spell or trap directly from the deck. And we're going to go ahead and grab Glamour here. I had to think about this one for a little bit. Like, do I want to go for Glamour? Do I want to go for Sheet? But I decided to go for the Glamour because I'm trying to also play around evenly matched as well. There are two major things that I'm trying to play around right now. One is evenly matched. The other is Called by the Grave. And you'll see how exactly we go about doing that, especially since it's game 3. And, you know, we're both post side, right? You got to worry about evenly matched. Card is really, really good against Rikka, and you got to try to respect it as much as possible. I don't tribute the Glamour so I can get Snowdrop, but we're just going to use Snowdrop to tribute over the Havness regardless, and that's going to bring out the Lone Fire. Lone Fire coming in super clutch right now. Can help us get access to any plant in our deck. I summon another Princess here. I shouldn't have done this because, like I said, I was trying to play around Call by, and this technically helps us get another like Princess engraved to be able to have a negate on her turn and next turn, or a negate on his turn and then on our next turn, having like double Princess loaded. But it really doesn't help a lot to play in, like around Call by the Grave. I definitely should have like summoned a Carrot Weight there or a Primula, since we already had a Princess engraved. But we're going to use Snowdrop's effect now, targeting the Princess to make everything level 4. And we're going to go into the Strenna, and we're going to detach Mudon here. And I could add back the Mudon to like do the tribute play, but again, I don't want to like overextend it and try to play into an evenly. So we just add back Princess. So again, my opponent can't just start off with Called by on Princess and then turn off essentially 2 interruptions, right? Because we won't have a way to tribute our Strenna. And we're going to save Melius too in the extra deck and just link right into Bangalancer. And this is all we're going to end on here. We have a Princess in hand, we have Strenna on board, we have Con, we have Bangalancer, we have like a decent setup here, and we have Belle in hand. So we played around Call by, we played around evenly, but we kind of get hurt a little bit by Mystic Mine here, although not a lot, because we can just like link into Dance Peon next turn. If we really want to out it super fast and like not give our opponent a lot of time to draw into a bunch of cards over the course of the next few turns, and then we could just like, you know, well, before we link into Dance Peon, we would set off a con like a Glamour while we have the Strenna on field, and then we link into Dance Peon, tribute it off, search 2, end phase, Mystic Mine goes, and, you know, we out it super quick and efficiently. But my opponent takes a little time to think here about how he wants to, like, use this mine. Does he want to sit on it, or does he want to just be able to use it to get a couple plays off uninterrupted? And he ends up deciding to go that route to try to get a couple plays off uninterrupted, right? He's going to go ahead and dump a Merly off of Foolish, which obviously we cannot respond to it now with either of our, you know, our Belle or our Princess, which is completely fine. He's going to go ahead and fuse off for 3, and he's going to go for a Kaleido Heart right away and get rid of the Bangalancer, and then he's going to go for Battle Phase, attack over the Strenna, and I think he was like, you know, trying to keep his own mine alive with now me having no monsters, right? But he did make a crucial error and forgot about the Petal in the end phase, which is going to equalize our monster count, thus destroying the Mystic Mine. And now at this point, we're kind of like going to get into that grind game, right? We're going to get into that grind game quite a bit here. And we're going to go, I think, standby phase, main phase 1. I think he has something in standby. And I think it is to go Sulliek, send off the Kaleido Heart to attempt to negate the Petal before we can even use it. And he's going to go ahead and use Kaleido Heart effect. And I do burn the Bell here because, you know, once they get the Kaleido Heart in the grave and you stop it with something like Bell, they have a very hard time getting it back, if at all, into their extra deck because it can't be used as fusion material. So us belling that Kaleido Heart, pretty much, unless he plays 2, which some people definitely do, gets it out of the loop pretty much for the rest of the game. And now we're pretty much free to play. So we're going to go ahead and activate Con now. I always try to like get my free effects out of the way first with this deck. It's very easy to forget Con and Petal sometimes when you already have a lot of stuff in hand. So you want to get those out of the way first. I always like to go with Con first, just before they have any kind of removal. Then we're going to go ahead and normal summon Petal, activate Petal effect. And we're going to go ahead and search out a Rikka. We're going to go for Mudon because now we can kind of get Sheet into the rotation here, which I guess I could have set Sheet off of the Con. But if I can add the Sheet to my hand, I will. That way they don't know exactly where it's set. We're also going to tribute the other Petal now to go ahead and search 2 for Primula and Princess. And we have a Princess in grave. We also have a Princess in hand. So we're going to keep those 2 copies in rotation. And I actually have 3 copies in rotation right now. And this is one of the reasons why post side, I think you can get away with 2 Princess to like squeeze in, you know, another like side deck card. Because like I said, you only ever really need 2 in circulation. The third one only comes up very rarely. And I think the only reason you should have 3 in the deck is for the consistency sake of seeing it, especially game 1. Then we're going to go ahead and go and do Strenna. On summon a Strenna, he's going to go ahead and banish it with Dynamiscus, discarding a Destrudo. And I made the Dryas there to make it so that like my opponent couldn't super poly me once I made the Strenna. So he would have to preemptively super poly beforehand. That's one of the nice things about playing multiple Dryas is you can do things like that. Midway through the combo, just get an Earth plant on the field instead of leaving another Water plant. So I was like, you know, yeah, I'd have to super poly now, but once I get into my Strenna, you're not going to be able to super poly me. So that was kind of the thought process behind that. But it wasn't a super poly, it was a Dynamiscus, and we still have a plant left on field to be able to work with. And we're going to go ahead and tribute it for Mudon. And Mudon's going to go ahead and grab us a copy of Sheet. So we still at least have a couple interruptions. We have our Princesses live. We have our Sheet live. And, you know, just checking all the boxes right now, making sure, you know, I know what I used. My opponent's going to draw pass. Petal comes back. We draw unexpected die for turn. And now we're going to go ahead and get all of our, again, our free effects out of the way. Con effect to go ahead and set. And then Petal is going to go ahead and attempt to search here, I believe, momentarily. We have Princess in hand. And, okay, so I see the line I'm going for right now, too. And my opponent wasn't expecting this, right? Because we already have gone through 2 Strenna, but the third Strenna is about to come up right here. And this is one of the things we were talking about earlier in this episode. You know, what comes up more, right? Is it the second Jasmine or is it the third Strenna? And they both have their places, right? But this is one of those situations where that third Strenna is going to like help us stay into the game big time. So we're going to normal summon the Loci, and then Princess effect to summon itself, and then we're going to go ahead and link into the Dance Peon, and no effect on summon because our plant count in the main deck is extremely low. One other reason why Jasmine wouldn't really do us anything, you know, other than just be an 1800 vanilla basically. We're going to use our other effect to target a level 4 engrave, make them both level 4, get access to Strenna again. And we get to add basically a free card back here. And I took a good while to think about exactly what to add back. We've already used our normal summon right now. We're not going to be doing so much else right now. We couldn't add back the Snowdrop because we don't have another plant in hand. We have Unexpected Die, which is also unfortunate. Everything else in grave I really don't want to add back. But there was one card here at the very end of the graveyard I was looking at. And it's Sunseed Twin. And I decided to go for Twin because of one reason. We're in a very simplified game state. And I want to get as much value as possible out of Petal returning every turn, right? It can easily turn into a Dryas, you know, the Link 1, and we're not going to really be able to need to use Petal effect to search anymore because pretty much everything in our deck is in the graveyard right now, and Strenna is going to just be our only way to get back names that we need to recycle. Petal is going to become less important right now, but we can still take advantage of the fact that Petal is a free body, and what pairs really well with Dryas, it's Twin, and Twin can basically, with Dryas on field, just turn into a Soul Charge, or with Petal coming back, you know, it turns into a Soul Charge. So we're going to pass there after we swing in for 32. Getting down to the wire here. I think we only have about like 8 minutes or left or so on the clock. My opponent's going to draw for turn here. And he's going to go ahead and activate Dynamiscus in the battle phase, banishing the Strenna, the third one. and then he's going to discard an evenly match. He's going to bring out the other Dynamiscus Engrave, continuing in the battle phase to attempt to run over the Dance Peon, and we do protect it with that Clutch Sowing in the graveyard as well. So he loses Dynamiscus end phase, Petal comes back, we draw another unexpected die for turn, and looking through the graveyard, pretty much all of our names have been exhausted. We're just going to link in a Dryas with the Petal, normal summon the Twin effect to go ahead and bring back Lokai now, and now we can do that Melius OTK line that I was talking about earlier, and it's just scot-free at this point. My opponent already took 32, so we don't need to worry about having the double attacking Thrasher. Just getting it up to 3,200 is going to be enough with how much life points they have left. They have 48. And honestly, we could have just attacked right here with the Dance Peon and the Thrasher, because that's 32 plus 12, that's 44. 32 plus 12, no, it's not. Okay, so we do have to make the Bengal answer. So I'm like, did I even need to take the extra step? But taking the extra step here is 100% needed. And he also put back our Bengal answer earlier in the game, so we can just make it again here. And swinging for 32 and swinging for 25. And that ends up being the game. Really, really cool way that game 3 played out. I wanted to showcase a whole bunch of different things and different interactions. I think that game did a good job of that. While also kind of show you guys a new and fresh variant of Tearlament, a deck we're going to see a lot. So yeah, that was our round 3. Hopefully that didn't take too long, because I'm looking at the time I've been recording this, and it's almost 40 minutes. Hopefully I can trim it down. But yeah, that's our round 3. Let's see how the rest of our tournament went. All right, everybody, we just wrapped up round 4. We ended up playing against Tier again. This player we played against, he's kind of a goat. You know, he's been playing in the community for a long time, and it's been a very long time since I played against him. I think the last time I remember playing against him was when we were on Marincess, but like pre-support Marincess. So it's been a very, very long time. And he was playing a Layer of Darkness deck, which I think is kind of ironic because Con is basically like Layer of Darkness. We were able to take that match 2-0 relatively easy. My opponent went for a mill 8 and completely whiffed. All he said he needed was one tier name off that and it would have been fine. But I did have a DD Crow in hand, so he wouldn't have gotten much farther. After that, he needed to hit multiple names to be able to keep playing. And I did make a misplay, and if you guys want to see the match in its entirety, it'll be uploaded to YouTube under the Saturday Night Local series, so check that out. Put the stabilizer on the camera, so hopefully it's not as wobbly or shaky as some people were saying it was. Appreciate the feedback on that, by the way. But I made a misplay where I overlaid a princess to make Strenna. When I had Carrot Weight in grave, I should have sent off the princess to make the Strenna. That way, princess would have been in the grave to start the turn. Having that monster negate ready, I had to play things a little awkwardly to be able to get it in grave. It ultimately didn't matter, but it could have mattered. So that's the thing that I wanted to bring up. But other than that, we're finishing up round 4 right now. My friend Adam's on the feature. Hopefully he can take the dub because he's also playing Rikka. And then after that, we'll be out of here and we'll wrap everything up.
To the one on the right.
Whichever one looks nicer of those two Charizard V-Stars right there.
I think this one looks the nicest.
It does. This one does look nice. That's true.
I think this looks kind of sister deck already.
I need this Evatal EX in here.
Yep, one already sold.
I need that Evatal EX.
Oh shit, yo, they got more
It's
shit.
got one. But it's got everything else.
EX. Over.
Up.
Down. Other way.
Down.
There you go.
There. No,
Yeah.
up.
No.
Oh my god.
The lid. The lid. The lid.
Alright, this one legit.
Let's see.
I think it looks good. It's got real foil on it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Give me.
No.
Give
No.
me.
They're mine.
Alright, everybody, we are finally out of locals. Ended up grabbing another a deck profile from my friend Kevin, who was able to go EXO with Sword Soul. Haven't seen that in a long time, but it was really cool, honestly, because, you know, we played the deck in the past, had a lot of fun playing it, and it was nice. His deck profile was a little long. It was like 25 minutes, but, you know, it is what it is. He wanted to get all the goo out onto the table, right? And by goo, I mean Rivalry and Mystic Mine. I guess I really can't complain, right? Since I'm playing the Rivalry, one of the best continuous trap cards of this format. This backpack weighs like 1,000,000,000 pounds. So I'm going to just not waste any more time. I'm going to get in the truck and we're going to get home and hopefully make some food. Maybe some egg fried rice sounds really good right about now. And some ibuprofen for the headache. So yeah, we'll talk about our 3-1. We'll talk about that when we get back. Really not a whole lot to talk about. Biggest thing is going to be that side decking area because it could have made a huge difference. Who knows? Who knows? And just like that, here we are with the week 1 recap for One Deck 1 Month featuring Rikka. This week we ended up going 2-2 on Tuesday and 3-1 on Saturday, bringing our total record for week 1 to 5-3. Definitely not that great, but we'll take it. We have a positive record. That's good, right? We did secure 15 store credit this past Saturday and 1 OTS pack for topping or going 3-1 or better. Didn't pull anything great out of it. We got that super rare DR to add to the collection. OTS 20, interesting enough, actually the Altis were just announced today as I'm doing the editing for this episode, and they seem pretty cool. Really not happy about Sky Striker getting more high rarity cards. They just love to give this deck OTS Alti after OTS Alti. It is what it is. The one thing I hope they don't do with this OTS is print it to absolute oblivion like they did with 19. It just seems like the prices for all the Altis were just so low. It just didn't really feel special when you pulled one just because some of the cards just weren't worth that much at the end of the day, as opposed to like what I remember when I was opening up Astral packs. Like if you pulled an Alti out of there, like they were worth a decent amount. Pretty special cards. It doesn't really feel that way with the newer OTS packs. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. But regardless, there's just a couple things I want to go ahead and go over before we wrap this episode. The first being a little bit of a misplay that I made in round 4. We didn't obviously go over round 4. There really wasn't much to go over. It was a pretty easy win on our behalf, and if you guys want to see that match in its entirety, I'll leave a link to it up here in the top right. It's already been uploaded to the channel, but I want to talk about one specific play that I made where I believe I had 2 level 4s on field. One of them was a princess, which I wasn't going to be able to get into the grave because I had already used Strenna's turn prior, so I couldn't detach the princess that was underneath it, but I did have a carrot weight in grave that I could have used to send off the princess, putting it in grave where it is better suited, and still made my Strenna having that monster negate live pretty much immediately to start the turn. And I think that was just solely because I got a little bit ahead of myself, just kind of overlooked it, and just tunnel visioned to the normal end board. Luckily, it didn't make a difference at all in the outcome of the game. Very minor thing, but it's those little interactions that we kind of have to stay on top of because eventually someday it'll happen where me missing something that small can be the difference between winning and losing a game. So we do need to stay, again, on top of those small little interactions, and you guys can sort of see what that looked like. I should have had a little video clip down in the bottom of the screen there showing you guys the exact scenario. But I think that was the only thing for that match, and you know, we also kind of got lucky there too when my opponent again whiffed on a mill 8. Really rare, but we take those, I guess, right? And the last thing is our only loss that we had on this Saturday was to the Danger tier deck. We got Eradicator games 1 and 3. Eradicator game 1 wasn't really a huge deal. The biggest issue was trying to out Griffin plus Baron. That ended up being the real killer. We had a lot of engine post Eradicator. I think it only might have hit 1 spell out of my hand. Game 2, we ended up going first, and we won despite getting hit with Anti-Magic Arrow, turning off a sheet and a Rivalry. And speaking of Rivalry, anytime my opponent says Battle Phase, Main Phase 2, I'm just going to go ahead and preemptively flip the Rivalry of the Warlords, because even if they have evenly matched, I'm going to get rid of the Rivalry anyways, so I might as well call their bluff on Anti-Magic Arrow as well to make it less effective, because Anti-Magic Arrow only stops like activated effects, so it keeps Con live, and if we already activate a Rivalry, it keeps that live as well. And they also kind of just, give us a tell that they have something like anti-magic arrow in hand as well. If they continue to go into the battle phase, they're only turning off sheep, but at least we still have rivalry to work with, right? So that's pretty good. And then game 3, obviously we got Radicated again. The biggest thing there was the side decking patterns, which I think I already touched on briefly in this episode. It's something I want to get really fine-tuned. I think when we start episode 2 or some point in episode 2, I want to get those side decking patterns down. Although it's a little tough to do so right now because we're going into, still kind of like a new format post-ban list, right? So I don't really know 100% what my side deck needs to look like. We're still kind of waiting for things to shape up. And again, Darkwing Blast is like literally right around the corner, and that's going to shake up things quite a bit as well. But I do have a plan to, get the side deck a little more fine-tuned. Mainly just working out patterns. I think that's what I need to go over. I think I just need to have a checklist of all the engine cards that I'm going to allow myself to take out, because I don't want it to be that many, but if I am going to be able to take them out, I want to know which ones exactly I'm okay and comfortable with taking out. So that's something we're going to cover in the next episode. And I think we're also going to experiment with a hand trap heavy build where we don't main Rivalry and we don't main Dark Ruler, and I'll explain those choices when we get to episode 2. And if you guys want to see episode 2, if I remember, I'll leave a link to it up here in the top right after I upload this one and episode 2. I'll try to come back to this one to, make the viewing experience a little bit easier if you're watching one at a time or waiting until all the episodes are released. But yeah, that is going to do for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And like always, a huge shout out goes to our Divine level channel members who are Pony Star, Cadillacs84, Justin Lamb, and HDH Cyber. Thank you guys so much for your extremely kind and very generous support of this channel.